Welcome everyone to our Packers News Thursday live chat. Alongside Ryan Wood, I am Olivia Reiner. The Packers are just a few days away from their final preseason game of the regular season, this time against, final preseason game of the preseason.
You're accelerating there is what you're doing.
Against the Buffalo Bills, I'm projecting. We're getting closer to the start of the regular season. In today's live stream, we wanted to have a conversation with all of you about some of the bigger storylines we think you should keep an eye on in this upcoming weekend's game. However, before we get into it, as always, you can be a part of our conversation. If you're over on Facebook or YouTube, leave us a question down in the chat. I will have my eyes on you all throughout this conversation. So we'll get some of your thoughts involved toward the end of our conversation today. We've been discussing the competition in the wide receivers room all throughout training camp, and now we are nearing the end as the Packers get close to putting together their initial 53-man roster. In the beginning, it looked like it was a competition among four different players: Devin Funchess, Equanimeous St. Brown, Malik Taylor, Reggie Begelton. Now Funchess is out of that competition because he's been placed on season-ending injured reserve as he's dealing with a hamstring injury. Now it's looking like it's going to be a pretty interesting way. I don't know. It's a big question mark as to how the Packers are going to go with that sixth or even seventh wide receiver spot. Malik Taylor seems like he could be a standout. Not only has he been performing pretty well through the last two preseason games, but he's also a special team standout. Who has the leg up currently in this competition?
Well, I think Malik Taylor is in good shape based on the strength of special teams. Now, if he was to make the roster, it would be as the sixth receiver. And this is a position where theoretically they could save a spot, put it elsewhere. It's a numbers game, as you know, this time of year, all counting up to that 53, and how they get there, the configurations is very important position by position. But Malik Taylor got a lot of reps with the ones today. To me, it looked a lot like, look, Malik Taylor, unless there's injuries, if he makes a team, he's not playing offense, right? But it looked like, let's see what this guy looks like with the starters on offense, just in case, because he's going to make the team as a special teamer and an emergency receiver. So I think he's in good position. You know, Equanimeous St. Brown's got to get healthy. We've seen what he can do when he's healthy. When he's healthy, he's a really talented guy. You just can't stay healthy. And this has not been just this year. It's been 3-4 years now. He's really never, after that rookie season, he's never stayed healthy. So for him, I mean, at some point, if you can't stay healthy, you move on from the guy, even if there's some potential there. And that could be the case with EQ. But, you know, contrary, you know, our Tom Silverstein has a column coming out about on Packers News about how that those final receiver spots don't matter. He's absolutely right. These guys are not playing. But when you lose a Randy Ramsey, when you lose a Will Redmond on special teams, you've got to make up for that somewhere. And this is a special teams that's been very, very poor. You watched last year. You've watched this preseason. They need to find new faces, and really they need to come from receiver. Malik Taylor is front and center of that. If the Packers have their way, he doesn't only make the 53, but he ascends to be a core special teamer.
Ryan, you mentioned Equanimeous St. Brown. Let's discuss another receiver that was drafted in the same year as St. Brown. That's Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Notice he is not in the mix as someone who's duking it out to make the 53-man roster. He is a lock for the initial 53. Many years ago, not that long ago, really, a couple years ago, we would sit here and talk about Valdes-Scantling and the issues that he was having, the drops during the regular season. Now he seems to have come a long way, especially in this training camp. He's been making lots of plays. Even today, we saw a couple of touchdowns and 11-on-11 move the ball period. What is Marquez Valdes-Scantling's potential in 2021?
Number 2 receiver, legit, and your deep threat on this offense. You saw that last year. Here, a lot of this that you've seen with Marquez Valdes-Scantling, you've already seen from him. Look, he became the first Packers receiver last year since Walter Stanley in 1986 to average at least 20 yards per catch on at least 30 catches in a season. You know what he can do stretching the field vertically. It's always been the little things. It's been these right here. Get these right. If he gets these right, he's a really talented guy. And in this camp, Olivia, there's one bad drop that I can remember down the right sideline where Rodgers put it right on his hands, and and it bounced off, kind of the old MVS. But other than that, he has looked very consistent. He's looked very, very solid with the hands. He puts that together. You've got the full package there. And Aaron Rodgers said it today. MVS is a guy that in the past, he didn't know if he could count on him. This camp has been a very different MVS. Rodgers said that he's been a different person. He's a different headspace, very clear, very confident, playing with a lot of clarity, and that's carried over to him as a receiver. I think when your confidence is good and when your mind is clear, especially as a receiver, these are good. That's what when it's kind of like in baseball. You step into the batter's box. How do you hit? You don't think. You don't think to hit. You don't think to catch the ball as a receiver. It just happens very naturally. And for him, it has looked much more natural. He could have a big year if he really puts it together. He had 9 drops last year, and they were each one of them were critical drops. You erase those from his season, he had a heck of a 2020. If he's able to do that in 2021 without the drops, watch out. He's going to be a big weapon in this offense.
We've discussed some Packers receivers. Let's talk about the player that throws the ball to the Packers receiver, the quarterback. Second-year quarterback Jordan Love is going to likely return this upcoming weekend against the Bills, as he missed last week against the Jets with a shoulder injury to his throwing arm. Sounds like he's doing much better. Head coach Matt LaFleur said that Love is likely to play at least a half this upcoming weekend. How long will it take Jordan Love to shake the rust off?
Yeah, I think you've kind of seen that through the week. He had a great day of practice today. He hit Malik Taylor on a deep corner for about 30 yards against really perfect coverage from the rookie Shamar Jean-Charles. And he just hit him in stride. One of the best balls he's thrown all offseason, all camp. And so I think I was not at the Tuesday practice where he got team reps and he looked you can speak on it, Olivia. He looked rusty, but he looked a lot better today. And now, I asked Aaron Rodgers today, how detrimental is the time that he's missed? Because Aaron Rodgers, once upon a time, was a quarterback who needed preseason snaps. Now, no, he's ready to go week 1 in June. But in once upon a time, he needed those snaps. He said that he thought that for Jordan Love to miss the joint practices against the Jets was really detrimental because Robert Saleh, the Jets head coach, the curator of that defense, he threw a lot at the Packers offense in those joint sessions, and Jordan Love missed that. So, look, big picture, Jordan Love's played one half of pro football in 2 seasons. He had because of COVID, he had no snaps last year. I'm a little surprised that he's only getting somewhat into the third quarter if he plays on Saturday. Matt LaFleur said that Kurt Benkert will definitely play. I'm a little surprised by that, but look, especially with no pain in Jordan Love's throwing shoulder, but look, every snap is important for this guy right now.
It will be a lot easier for Jordan Love to shake the rust off if his offensive line is playing spectacularly. The offensive line has been undergoing changes, with left tackle David Bakhtiari likely to miss week 1 of the regular season with an ACL injury. So they've been moving some players around. We've seen Elton Jenkins move from left guard to left tackle. Billy Turner is likely to start at right tackle. The biggest question marks continue to be along the interior offensive line, specifically at guard. Most recently, we've seen Lucas Patrick start at left guard, Royce Newman at right guard. What did the two of them need to do this weekend to solidify those starting roles?
What they've been doing, really. Lucas Patrick is a guy that started 15 games last year, played in 15 and a half, came in after Lane Taylor's torn ACL in week 1 at Minnesota, and he never gave up the job. Now he's probably given up the job, in this camp because Royce Newman's been the right guard, and Aaron Rodgers kind of signaled today that Royce Newman's going to be that right guard, that starter, because he was talking about Josh Myers and needing to be a veteran now and not a rookie. Josh Myers, second-round pick, he is a rookie, but he's taken all the first-team reps the day he got in Green Bay for rookie orientation till now. And Aaron Rodgers said he needs to be that veteran because he's probably going to be playing next to a young guy, as in Royce Newman, the 4th-round pick, who has really ascended and I think is close. I asked Matt LaFleur today if Royce Newman is a starter. He said we're not handing out starting jobs yet. He wants to see this competition through. But if it continues at the trajectory it has been, Royce Newman will be your starting right guard. So, just continue doing what he's doing. Lucas Patrick, he's more of a known commodity. But both those guys look like they're kind of penciled in right now as your starting guards week one, and we'll have to see if they can get through Buffalo and keep that trajectory going.
Let's head over to Facebook and YouTube now for some of your questions. We'll start with JHG over on YouTube. They want to know, can you please provide any update regarding the injury status of outside linebacker Zadarius Smith? Thank you. The only update is that there isn't much of an update now. We were able to get an update, I believe, earlier in the week, as Smith is still dealing with a back injury. He came off of NFI, I believe, to start or he went on to NFI to start training camp, came off, returned for one practice, and then was off the practice field after that. And Matt LaFleur casted some doubt onto Smith's availability for week one of the regular season. What more do we know about Zadarius Smith, Ryan?
That's just that he's potentially could miss week one with that back injury. He came back, no pun intended, probably a little earlier than he should have, and it flared up, and he came back to practice, and he went right back out. So we'll have to see. It's an awfully thin outside linebacker position if you don't have the second team All-Pro there, because you've got Preston Smith, who's coming off a season in which he was forced to take a pay cut, and Rashawn Gary, who I think is ascending. Rashawn Gary beat Billy Turner for what would have been a sack in team drills today. He's having a good camp for himself. You can see the athleticism now carry over to 11-on-11. But after those two guys, that's Zadarius Smith, Jonathan Garvin, who's probably going to make this team, and that's the crickets. That's it. That's how thin this outside linebacker group is. So they need Zadarius Smith to be healthy, and they need him back as soon as possible.
We'll provide more updates on Zadarius Smith as we receive them. Thank you so much, JHG, for your question. Let's go over to John on Facebook. John says, given three running backs who are explosive and can catch, might Matt LaFleur make the screen pass a bigger part of the offense, given the fact that A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, and Kylan Hill are all pretty good in the passing game? I shouldn't say great. We still have yet to see more of Kylan Hill, especially in a regular season game. Aaron Jones, certainly a much more proven pass catcher out of the backfield. How likely is it that Matt LaFleur makes the short passing game, even involves screen passes, a little bit more often in the 2021 season?
I think he already does. It just doesn't look like that. You hold your block for a millisecond, let the defensive line go through and throw behind them. There's a lot of screens in this Matt LaFleur offense. It's just the quick slip screens, whether it's a receiver, jet motion. You see a lot of that. That's basically a screen. You see a lot of the short, quick passing game in this playbook, and I think that you're going to see a good amount of that. But I think you've been seeing that. I think you've seen that with Aaron Jones. I think that you could potentially see that with A.J. Dillon, and I think that so long as Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are healthy, those are going to be your running backs. Think back to last year, how hard it was for A.J. Dillon, who's a second-round pick, not a seventh-round pick like Kylan Hill, how hard it was for him to get touches in this offense. I think the same is going to be the case for Kylan Hill as a rookie.
Thank you, John, for your question. Let's go to Nathan on Facebook. Nathan asks, how vital will Robert Tonyan be this season? He blocks, he's 6'5" with a great head on his shoulders. Ryan put together not quite his 53-man roster projection. He did put together some thoughts on the initial 53, who's on the bubble, who's a lock. Ryan, you had one tight end as a lock on your list, and that was Robert Tonyan. What makes him so special in this Packers offense, and what is his potential in 2021?
Robert Tonyan catches everything. You saw today at practice, that was a sweet grab. So in a red zone drill, which was a really great red zone drill on both sides. Both sides were making plays. Rodgers flipped a pass over Chris Barnes to the back of the end zone, and Robert Tonyan just made it look like a Saturday stroll in the park. He reaches out one-handed with his right hand on the back line and just snags it, just casually with one-handed snags it, stays in bounds, gets the touchdown. That is Robert Tonyan. He's caught everything in camp. He caught literally no drops last year. He literally caught everything last year. He catches every ball thrown to him, and he can move. He's an athletic guy. He's not your most athletic tight end. I think his good buddy George Kittle is obviously clearly got more athleticism, but Robert Tonyan, he can move. He's athletic. He catches every. I think Robert Tonyan's got the best hands on the team. And yes, I know Davante Adams is also on this team. Davante Adams is a superstar. I think Robert Tonyan has the best hands on this team.
Wow, that's a big statement from Ryan. If
Don't
you
ask
have
me.
if you have any contrary feelings, feel free to let Ryan know right now. We'd love to hear from you. Let's go over to Tyler on Facebook right now. Tyler asks, how's the cornerback position looking for the number 2 corner behind Jair Alexander? How is rookie Eric Stokes looking? We've seen a lot of first-team reps from Kevin King and Jair Alexander this today. I mean, since King has been working back gradually from his hamstring injury, he was pretty limited last week against the Jets. We didn't get to see him in a lot of team periods. This week, we've seen a lot more Kevin King, and he's been looking pretty solid, and he's truthfully been looking more solid than Eric Stokes did. Stokes had a pretty rough day of practice on Tuesday. He was in coverage for at least 2 or 3 touchdowns, 2 to Marquez Valdes-Scantling, 1 to Davante Adams. Who is likely to be the second starting corner alongside Jair Alexander come the regular season?
You're trying to get me in trouble with Packers fans here.
Sorry.
You're trying to get me in trouble with Packers fans here. It's going to be Kevin King early in the season. Don't hate me. Don't shoot the messenger here. But he is going to be the starting corner, and he's a good corner. I know it's taboo to say, but yes, I did watch the NFC Championship game. He is a good corner. When he is healthy, which he was, by the way, not healthy in the NFC Championship game, and is been only healthy for 2/3 of his career games, 41 games and 64 regular season games that he's played. But when he is healthy, he's a good corner. He is ahead of Eric Stokes. Eric Stokes has had a good camp. It's been a great camp for him from a standpoint of he's gotten, until this week, basically all the first-team reps because Kevin King has not been healthy. But when he is healthy, Kevin King is a veteran. He's a good corner. He's ahead of Eric Stokes. And the question is, as the season progresses and as Eric Stokes continues his development, can Eric Stokes eventually surpass Kevin King? And Kevin King seemed to think that's he knows where he's at. He's competing for his job. He's not a lock to be a starter. He is in a competition. But early in the season, they go down to New Orleans. Kevin King is going to be the starting corner.
If you have contrary opinions, once again, to Ryan, let us know.
Sorry. I'm just telling you the truth, okay?
Hey.
Nope. I don't make these decisions.
Truth hurts sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. It's all good. We appreciate you, Ryan. Let's go over to Jake on Facebook. Jake wants to know, do you think the Packers will retain Davante Adams if Green Bay wins the Super Bowl this year? Or is the salary cap going to be the bigger issue? Big question, Ryan. Davante Adams entering the final year of his contract. Will he return to the Packers?
I don't think the Super Bowl has a darn thing to do with Davante Adams coming or going. I think that it's all about the show me the money, and he made that very clear. He expects to be paid as the top receiver in the NFL because he believes he's the top receiver in the NFL, and he's got some accolades like first-team All-Pro and some records, some franchise records to back that up. If you're the best, you want to get paid like the best. That's what it's going to come down to for Davante Adams. Now, Olivia, it's very interesting because Brian Gutekunst said at the beginning of camp, right after Davante Adams said he wants to be paid like the best receiver. How do you define what is the best paid, highest paid wide receiver? And Amari Cooper's got 4 years for $100 million out in Dallas. That's the highest total value. DeAndre Hopkins, in new money, when he signed his extension with Arizona, has 2 years at $27.5 million per year, $54 million on 2 years. So usually these things go on APY, average pay yearly, and 27.5 for DeAndre Hopkins would be considered your highest paid. If the Packers are looking at it as like, hey, we'll give you 100 plus, but it won't be $27.5 million per year, they might look at that as highest paid. So that could be your disconnect there. Ultimately, though, it's going to, if Davante Adams gets the money that he feels that he's warranted, and his play on the field certainly shows that he is, he'll sign. If not, he'll go elsewhere.
Thank you, Jake, for your question, and thank all of you for joining us today. We appreciate you coming and interacting with us as always. If we did not get to your question today, do not worry. We will be back to preview the game on Saturday, and we'll also be back once again to wrap up the game Ryan will be in Buffalo for us, so make sure to keep up with everything that he has to say over on social media. He will be our eyes and ears in Buffalo as the rest of us are going to be covering the game from home. So we'll still be doing the live stream. We'll just be doing it remotely, not in person as always. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Make sure you're checking out PackersNews.com for all of your Packers coverage. For Ryan Wood, I'm Olivia Reiner. We will see you next time.